Hello, Guilty Feminists. This week's show is one of my favourites from the back catalogue. It's from August 2018. This episode was a Pride special, all things queer, and it was our first time meeting the Say It Loud Club, which I remember being very moving. I remember my husband, who produces the show, crying on the side of the stage watching it, and he does not cry easily except at movies. It was a real celebration. And we continue to support the Say It Loud Club every year through Campus Christmas now. We also hear from the Black Cap about how important queer spaces are. And there's also a brilliant drag act and some wonderful music. It really, really is a classic episode and a celebration of all things queer and feminist. I hope you enjoy it very much. Next week, we're back with a brand new episode. See you then.
I'm a feminist, but a comedian said to me, "What are you going to do on Sunday if England are in the final, because nobody will come to your show at Regent's Park Theatre?" And I said, "Oh, I wouldn't worry. Feminists don't really care about football." Now, obviously, some feminists do. Just give us a cheer if you're a feminist who does care about football. Okay, you all wouldn't have been here, which would have been a loss. Just give us a cheer if you don't care about football. Okay, we would have had a fine house. I was right.
I'm a feminist, but when I read a negative Amazon review of a book I like, I looked at the other things the same woman had reviewed, and as soon as I saw she'd reviewed a head lice comb, I thought, lady, I don't trust you. You got head lice. Not my fault you're an animal. I know, people have kids. They're animals.
I'm a feminist, but this weekend at Latitude, I forgot my sunscreen. So I stopped off especially at Boots to buy new sunscreen. And I treated myself to some really lovely sunscreen that had a shimmery bronzer in it that smelt delicious, and then was staying at someone's house near Latitude. So when I got onto the Latitude site, I realised that the sunscreen I'd gone out of my way to buy because I'd forgotten my own and I'd spent extra on, I'd forgotten that. And I was so angry with myself, I shouted backstage at Latitude, "What is the point of me? What is the point of me?" I did, but I really felt it in that moment, and I didn't know the answer.
Deb, you are more than a glittery bronzing sun cream to me.
Well, that's terribly kind, but I was scrounging around saying, "Oh, is there any chance I could borrow a bit of your sunscreen?" I was so angry with myself. Do you know that feeling where you just think, I'm completely useless, and I know as a feminist.
I did that today. I was trying to bubble the soda stream.
Yeah.
My fella has a soda stream, and he showed me how to use it so many times.
So many times.
So many times.
So many times.
And I put it in, and I know how to do that. But it wasn't on the right angle, and water went everywhere. Anyway, that's not my I'm a feminist, but I was just empathising, and I went, "Oh, shit!" And then I went in and I got it together. I went, "Honey, could you just with the soda stream?" And I was just a volcano of fury was coming up inside me. Anyway, I'm a feminist, but I get really angry at women in music videos who allow themselves to act like they're blow drying their hair when their hair is already dry. You're either a sexy idiot or you're an energy waster. And don't tell me it's because they might be trying to stay warm, because they're always in a bikini.
The sisterhood is behind you then.
Thank you.
I'm a feminist, but the other day I went for a walk through beautiful Primrose Hill, and I wandered through Chalcot Square, one of the most beautiful areas in London. And I wandered around Chalcot Square and all the beautiful houses, and I saw on one of them a blue plaque which said, "Feminist, poet and writer Sylvia Plath, author of The Bell Jar, lived here." And I thought, how could you be so depressed with this kind of real estate?
Very, very funny. She didn't know back then. She didn't know. If only.
If only.
You know?
I don't think that's what it's about. But
Wait a
I
minute.
had that thought. I was like, I'd be happy in this house.
I'm a feminist, but if I was still single, I would bring out my emergency plan to lure a man by designing shampoo and conditioner that made my hair smell like mashed potato and gravy.
Oh, not a bad plan.
It's not bad, is it?
Not a bad plan.
If not, you wouldn't necessarily get men attracted to you, but you get a lot of very hungry men. Just going, where have you been? You're like, the shower.
I don't think it could hurt. Live from the Regent's Park Open Air Theatre, the Spontaneity Shop presents The Guilty Feminist with me, Deborah Francis White, guest co-host Felicity Ward, and very special guests from Say It Loud and Save the Black Cap, talking about drawing a line and planting a flag.
Dum dum da dum da dum hey dum dum da dum da dum I'm a survivor dum da dum da dum hit me baby one more time people always talk da dum hey dum da dum 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 da dum da dum hey dum da dum ride it on a piece of paper dum 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 da dum da dum there's something about this let's keep it moving and if it's good let's just get something cooking 'cause I really wanna rock with you I'm feeling some connection to the things you do I don't know what it is that makes me feel like this I don't know who you are you must be some kind of superstar 'cause you got all eyes on you no matter where you are hit me baby one more time show me how you want it to be tell me baby 'cause I need to know now because my loneliness is killing me and I must confess I still believe when I'm not with you I lose my mind give me a sign hit me baby one more time I'm a survivor I'm not gonna give up I'm not gonna stop I'm gonna work harder I'm a survivor I'm gonna make it I will survive keep on surviving I'm a survivor I'm not gonna give up I'm not gonna stop I'm gonna work harder I'm a survivor hanging on and make it I will survive keep on surviving holla at me I don't give up I'm not gonna stop I'm gonna work harder I'm a survivor hanging on and make it I was best friends it's time to holla at me no I don't want no scrub staring at the blank page before you open up the dirty window let the sun illuminate the words that you cannot find reaching for something in the distance so close you can almost taste it release your inhibitions feel the rain on your skin butterflies fly away
Hello. A big round of applause for the Oxford Bells. You will be seeing more of the Oxford Bells tonight, as is only appropriate in an amphitheatre. Oxford Bells, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, so we are Oxford and Oxford Brookes University's original all-female a cappella group. We were formed in 1995 to combat the
Before
all-male...
Pitch Perfect.
Oh, yeah, far before.
Generations before Pitch Perfect.
Yeah, we keep getting that because we're called the Bells and they're called the Bellas.
You formed...
Yeah.
What, before some of you were born, presumably? Or,
Before
yes.
all of us were born.
Oh, only one of you were born? Get out. So when the Spice Girls were singing Zigga Zigga, you were not alive, just to be very clear. You were conceived
Really kind.
to Zigga Zigga. That's a sobering thought for anybody, isn't it? So, sorry, Ellie, tell me more.
We were formed to combat the all-male music scene in Oxford. We pride ourselves on being a feminist group. Intersectional feminism is our thing. So we have a show on at the Edinburgh Fringe, which is called Women of Note, from the 11th to the 18th, which is all about feminism over the past 100 years, celebrating the Representation of the People Act, and all about how far feminism has come and how far women have come in the last 100 years, and also how far we still have to go. And before then, if you can't wait until Edinburgh, we have an EP coming out in the first weekend of August.
Great.
So, yeah.
First week of August. Your mic's not on, so... Oh, there we go.
Oh, hi.
Look at that, that's feminism in action. One feminist amplifying another. We've learnt already. We've barely begun.
Our EP will be coming out on the first weekend in August, and that song is on it. The EP is called Women of Note, and the EP is raising funds for the Malala Education Fund, which is something really important to our hearts, which is also what we'll be raising money for when we get to Edinburgh, after each of our shows, if we get to Edinburgh.
If you get to Edinburgh?
No, we will. She's lying. We're going to Edinburgh.
We've set up a GoFundMe for our Edinburgh show, so to try and raise awareness about it happening.
So where can we find... go to GoFundMe and look for Oxford Bells?
Yeah, the Oxford Bells. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
At Oxford Bells.
At Oxford Bells.
At Oxford Bells.
Great content. We've just been together for 4 solid days at Bells Boot Camp. It is a thing.
Is it like Pitch Perfect? Please tell us it is. Does anyone say, excuse me?
She's scary. You don't want to see her when she's trying to boss you around. She's our music director. This is Caitlin, our music director.
Hey!
And she has whipped us into shape this past 5 days. I can tell you that for free.
Sounds rude. Does anyone say, excuse me, please? Please tell me that happens.
Anna is quite a die-hard Pitch Perfect fan. And then someone makes a lame Pitch Perfect joke and we're like, no, none of that.
Well, we look forward to seeing more of you. Big round of applause for the Oxford Bells! Thank you very much. See you later. Hello, I'm Deborah Frances-White, and this is The Guilty Feminist, the podcast in which we explore our noble goals as 21st century feminists and the hypocrisies and insecurities which undermine them. Today's topic is drawing a line and planting a flag, and my co-host is Felicity Ward. Today's topic is drawing a line and planting a flag, which I feel for feminism we need to do. Draw a line, plant a flag. Enough is enough.
Yes, Deb.
Do you know what I'm
I've
saying?
had a bloody enough.
Yeah. Who's had enough? Yeah.
Except of this weather.
Sure.
Long may it continue. Oh, my God. I know that this is not a very feminist topic, the weather, but God damn it, I'm so happy. I have been in the UK for 5 years, and after this month, I'm like, I reckon I could live here.
It has been nice.
It has been delightful.
And it was lovely when football was coming home. That was nice.
It was coming home for ages, wasn't it? It was a long walk.
It was coming home. It was coming home, and at the last minute, it decided, like so many, do you know what? I'll just spend a weekend in Paris. Yeah. Was that
Frenchies in?
French people?
Congratulations.
Well done, you. And listen, lovely of you to leave the celebrations for feminism.
Yeah.
We love that. We love that. Well done. I was saying football's coming home, but I felt a bit like, you know when you see a sort of cis white straight man wearing a T-shirt that says, this is what a feminist looks like, and you go, is it, or are you just at a festival and want to join in? I felt a bit like, that's how I felt about when I was singing Football's Coming Home. I was like, I'm not really a team player year round.
Yeah. This has got bandwagon written all over it.
Oh, so bandwagon.
I had Football's Coming Home in my head, and I had never heard it before. For 2 weeks, I was like, football. What is this song that I'm singing?
Had you not heard it before?
No.
Oh.
We call it soccer for a start.
Oh.
So if they said football's coming home in Australia, they'd go, oh, sweet, rugby.
Right. But do you know why you wouldn't sing Football's Coming Home in Australia anyway?
No.
Okay, it's because football was invented here.
Oh, my God, here we go.
And that's why... I can't believe I'm explaining the song to you. And that's why it's coming home.
I didn't say I didn't understand the song. It's 3 words. I picked picked up the message.
No, but did you know it was like that's why it's kind of coming home because this is where it started?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Good.
Jesus Christ, I just got mansplained by a woman.
I know, I did. That was a classic bit of mansplaining. As I was doing it, I was like, am I mansplaining Football's Coming Home? Because if I am, I feel, do you know what? I feel empowered by that. It was sort of...
I was actually reclaiming patronising other women, so that's actually a very feminist act, actually.
Sometimes it's nice to be a straight white man for a second.
These are enormous, and no one is this tall.
I know. I'm going to move mine to one side.
I look like Liam Gallagher. Little visual gag for all the listeners there.
Do you know, I just did the Latitude Festival.
Bragging.
And... don't want to go on about it. And Liam Gallagher did a secret set, which we were tipped off about. And the thing is, I did want to go, because I loved Oasis, you know, when the Oxford Bells were being conceived. And good times. You gotta roll with it. And there's an Oxford Bell.
Could you conceive to that? Like, and
take your time. It's an instructional manual for men.
It's not from Cabaret. I love how Deb turns every song into a song from Cabaret. You gotta roll with it.
You gotta take your time. You gotta say what you say.
And that is why she always wears sequins.
Get in your way.
Very much.
Okay. Felicity Ward, you and me, we do an Oasis cover, like jukebox musical, but
I'm listening.
We do it in the style of Cabaret.
Now, Deb, this is where you and I differ. And I think the crowd is about to turn on me. I don't love musicals. I know an audible gasp from the crowd. I'm sorry.
Come on. It's not all right. It's not World Cup.
It's not very inclusive, actually, guys, for you to... It's pretty actually intolerant, actually.
Felicity Ward,
yes.
I will have you in a musical before the decade is out.
Like, Deborah, buy me dinner first. There are some musicals. I like comedy musical. I actually love, like, Rocky Horror Picture Show, for example. I love it so much.
A great... what's her name? Magenta, thank you.
Well, you're going to love this then.
That was a bit of audience casting there because most people shouted Magenta and there are lots of people in that. So we all knew who you were.
We know. For my end-of-year music exam, I dressed up as Frankenfurter and sung Sweet Transvestite. And I was on scholarship at a private school. And we did the performance, and basically how I got my friend who was a drag queen, he did makeup on me, and I did like full drag except tits, and I came out in a dressing gown, and then when it got to the chorus, I ripped it off, and I'm like, I'm just a sweet transvestite, and half the audience went nuts, and then the other half were the donors, and they're like, I do not like where my money is going. And this was in 1998, so that was very controversial at the time.
When some of the Oxford Bells were toddlers.
I know. Do you know what I'm trying to do very subtly is when I came out here, I filmed everyone because I was very, very excited to be here, and I'm trying to tag the Guilty Feminist in this Insta story. Otherwise, it's going to use up all my juice, guys.
Are you literally Insta-storying on stage?
I've already done it, mate.
Wow.
Welcome to the motherfucking future.
That is some impressive millennial shit. That's right there.
And I'm not even a millennial. I'm the last of the Gen Xers.
Are you?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm Gen X too. High five.
Yeah. I don't know what we're proud of. Our parents had sex in an age. Cool, mine too.
Listen, we've done a lot. We have
done a lot, haven't we?
We fucked the economy and the environment. What more do people want? That took a lot of time.
We didn't fuck it. We just didn't do anything to correct it.
Right, that's true.
There's a difference.
That's true. We are now, though. Look
at what we're doing. Using up lights in the middle of the day.
For feminism. Come on.
What comes first, environment or feminism?
It's the same thing. It's all complicated. Oh, if you're listening at home, a bird just nearly took someone out.
We just got heckled by a pigeon.
We We should explain, if you're listening at home, we're not normally outdoors, but today we are.
Ever. Not during the show and not off the show.
No.
Very much basement dwellers.
Felicity is chauffeured from her basement to the theatre.
There's a tunnel that comes here from my house.
She gets out in dark glasses and, this is the first light she's seen in a long time, of a natural nature.
That'll bring the birds, won't it? It's not a bad impression. Would you like to see some stand-up comedy? Then welcome to the stage, Deborah Francis White!
So tonight I'm going to tell you a story of the single event in my life that allowed me to start the Guilty Feminist podcast. I used to be a Jehovah's Witness, as many of you who regularly listen know. I'm not now, sir, the man in the fourth row. Don't worry, I'm not going to lock the doors and get out a little cart. You're safe. I used to be a Jehovah's Witness, and I founded a very patriarchal, oppressive religion, and I left, and I would have told you up till 3 years ago that this was completely out of my life. I was a stand-up comedian now. They didn't have any hold over me. And in fact, so much so that I made a show about it. I made a live show, then I turned it into a Radio 4 show, and that show went out, and lots of Jehovah's Witnesses contacted me, ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, saying that show was very helpful and very cathartic, and that was very nice to hear. And then I got a message from a young man in Canada, in Vancouver, called Ryan. And he said, I'm not a former Jehovah's Witness, I'm a Jehovah's Witness right now. And in fact, I'm a pioneer. And a pioneer is what I was. It's like an Uber Jehovah's Witness, a full-time Jehovah's Witness. You have responsibility in the congregation. And I said, oh, Ryan, you're not meant to be talking to me. You could be disfellowshipped just for talking to me. And disfellowshipping is when you're excommunicated and you're shunned by your friends and even your family, and they can't talk to you any longer. And he said, I know, but I've woken up, I've realised that this is a cult and I don't want to be in it anymore, and your radio show was something that helped me wake up, and I want to get out, but I want to do it like you did. I want to get out without being formally disfellowshipped. So the thing is, when I left, I just stopped going until they forgot to disfellowship me. I feel like they're going to remember now, but I discovered that they can't disfellowship me unless I'm fellowshipping, unless I'm turning up locally to a congregation. And so I haven't been at my last congregation for so long, there's no way they can disfellowship me, because they can't disfellowship you from the international organisation. It has to be a local thing. So I sort of got out, and he said, I want to do that, because he said, I'm third generation Jehovah's Witness. I don't know anyone outside of it. I don't want to be that cut off from my family. I want to be able to, for example, go to a family funeral. If you leave of your own accord, you get a loose shun. It's sort of like people effectively don't talk to you, but they can if they want to. You don't take the choice away from them. And so if there is something like a funeral, they tend to be nice because you've allowed them to be. So he said, I want to do that. And something about this young man just spoke to me, and he seemed down, he seemed disconnected, he seemed completely alone. And I said, how would you feel if I came out to Vancouver for a week and just, was with you while you tried to do this? And he said, oh my God, that would be amazing. And so I got on a plane, and all my friends were going, what are you doing? Where are you going? I said, I don't know. I just feel I need to go to Vancouver. And they were like, to what? To stay with a man you've never met? I said, yes, I know who he is. He's me years ago. I just need to do this. And I arrived, and I don't think he thought I was going to show, but I think because he'd heard my radio show on the BBC, and he lives in Canada, I think he thought I was a lot more famous than I was. I think he thought I was like Graham Norton. And I didn't disabuse him, because why ruin it for everyone? And so I arrived, and we got there, and we decided on a strategy to help him get away slowly in a way that he wouldn't be formally disfellowshipped. And while we were doing that, we decided that we would do something each day that he couldn't do when he was a Jehovah's Witness. So the first day we did yoga, because that opens you up, and you can't do yoga when you're a Jehovah's Witness, because your mind will go blank and the demons will get in. But they also used to think you couldn't say bless you when someone sneezed, because that's what the pagans thought the demons coming out was. And I used to wonder if you could do yoga, sneeze, like a demonic spin cycle. The next day we did comedy improvisation, yes and, that opens you up. The next day we did MDMA. He wanted to do it. I didn't suggest it. somebody who was an ex-Jehovah's Witness had told him that it was very useful for opening you up and connecting you to other people. And he asked me to do it with him, and I had done it before, and so I said, yes, of course I will. And so we went to meet this friend of... I was trying to be helpful. And we went to meet this friend of his who had this stuff, and she said it's very, very pure, and I know the chemist. And so, I thought, oh my God, it's like Walter White. And then she said, okay, I'm going to go now. And I was like, no, where are you going to go? You've got to come back with us. And she said, no, I'm not going to come back with you. I've got to go somewhere. And I said, no. You can't leave Ryan and me alone doing MDMA in his flat. And she said, why not? And I said, because Ryan is a virgin and I am very helpful. I'm a people pleaser. And I said, I worry if I do MDMA, like... I will listen, not in a sexy way, more in the spirit of Great British Bake Off, like a technical signature and a showstopper. I'll just show him some stuff to be nice, Anyway, she said, okay, I understand. I'll come with you. So she gave us a pill and we were on the ceiling. I have never experienced anything like this before in my life. It was just an extraordinary experience. And then she gave us another pill and she said, that will do you for the whole evening and we'll sustain it now. Now I'm going to go. And then she left some pills on the table and she went, don't take these another time. And she left. And Ryan turned to me and said, shall we take these other pills? And I, being the older, wiser, more experienced drug taker and spirit guide, said, yes, let's do that. Because I was high. Don't leave the pills on the table. What are you thinking? Hide them. Anyway, we had this most extraordinary experience, and it wasn't sexual. Ryan just wanted to hold my hands and look into my eyes. And I realised, as we were doing this, that I was the first person that Ryan had ever really looked at and connected to. Because when you're a Jehovah's Witness and you're young, you're a teenager, not only can you not have sex, because sex isn't it, sex isn't intimacy. You can't really when your teenagers sit on their friends' laps and you hug each other and you might have a drink and you just sort of, do you know what I mean? It can be platonic, but it's a real connection. You stay up all night talking and you really connect. You can't really do that because it might lead to sex. It doesn't matter if you're with someone same sex or opposite sex, you just don't do that. You don't get tactile and you end up sort of avoiding each other's eyes because anything could lead to sex and you're always told you've got a wicked heart and it could lead to sex. So you become very, very disconnected. And I realised as I was looking into his eyes, I was looking into my own eyes and I saw that frozen middle that I used to have where I wasn't connected to anybody and I wasn't connected to my own body. Like, we weren't even allowed to masturbate, and I had not ever. You're so cold and alone. And I looked at him, and he looked at me, and I started to wake up a part of myself that had been dead for so long because I had never acknowledged it, because I hadn't cut and run. I had slowly drifted away, and I had not acknowledged what had happened to me. And he was looking at me, and I was looking at him, and he was looking at me, and I was looking at him, and then our jaws started to clench. I don't know if you've not ever done drugs, you may have seen somebody doing drugs where their jaw is clenching, but we had taken way too much. So our jaws were really clenching like this. And Ryan just went, Deborah, what's happening? Deborah, what's happening? And I went, don't worry, Ryan. All you do is you suck your finger. Like this. And it takes the pressure off the back teeth. And when I said this, I genuinely, truly believed that this was received wisdom. I had done it before, I'd seen it many times. This is just what people did. When I came down, I realised I had never heard of it. I completely invented it. But it worked. In my high wisdom, there was something. And we started to release our jaws and it was fine. But then he looked at me and he went, Deborah, no, we're not holding hands anymore. And I said, don't worry, Ryan. I'll suck your finger and you can suck mine. And we did. I have never been that high before or since. I need that out there. And then we executed our plan. After we'd come down, just to be clear. our plan was that Ryan should go to a Kingdom Hall, which is the Jehovah's Witness church, but not his own, because his elders could disfellowship him. And the elders at this point were pursuing him. They were emailing him because he was a pioneer who had responsibility in the congregation and he'd just disappeared. And so they suspected that he was an apostate and they wanted to get him into a judicial committee so they could disfellowship him. And so it was very clear he needed to stay away. So he was literally leaving his flat by the back door. He was avoiding elders who were sitting out the front in cars waiting for him. He was dodging their calls. Leaving the Jehovah's Witnesses is a lot like an episode of Breaking Bad. So I said, let's go to a Kingdom Hall that's near yours but not yours. Someone will recognise you. Word will travel back to your elders that you're still attending. You've turned up somewhere. That must mean you still kind of have a belief for it or a desire for it. Perhaps you're just depressed. They will send you an email saying it was great to hear that you went to a meeting. Hope to see you soon, and it'll buy you a couple of weeks. That was our strategy. So down we went to the congregation next to his. Ryan said, let's go in late and let's leave as soon as it ends so we don't talk to anyone and we just get spotted. So we go in just as the song is finishing. We sit down. We listen to the public talk, which is their version of the sermon. And I'm sitting there thinking, I just felt so like connected back into the mains. I was like, oh my God, I'm just getting all of these flashbacks. And at this point, someone came and tapped Ryan on the shoulder and he turned around and it was an elder. And this elder or older man of the congregation said, Ryan, we need to speak with you. And he went, oh, I'm in the meeting right now. Can I see you at the end? He said, don't leave this Kingdom Hall without speaking to the elders. And he went away. And Ryan looked up the back and he said, Deborah, they've called one of my elders so they can get me into a judicial committee. And I said, what are you going to do? He said, during the song, I'm going to pretend I'm going to the bathroom and then I'm going to make a run for it and I'm going to try and get out of the building. I said, I'll stay here as a decoy. So he left. I did not know what had happened to him. I stood up as soon as the prayer was over and I went to get to the back door and there was like an older sister who cut me off at the pass and was like, are you a visitor? And I was like, yes. Where are you from? London. London, Ontario? No, London, England. Oh, that's where Downton Abbey's from. Yeah, sure. And I was trying to get out of the hall. And when I got to the first set of doors, there were two elders standing there and they said, we need to speak with you. And I said, oh, are you looking for Ryan? They said, we've spoken with Ryan and now we need to speak with you. And I thought, I think I know what to say to them. So I followed them and they went into the back room of the Kingdom Hall and they shut and locked the door and there were no windows. And they sat me down and they went, so you're Ryan's aunt, eh? Which was our convincing cover story. And I went, yep. Why doesn't Ryan want to speak with us? He refused to speak with us. And I said, oh, well, it's all a bit FBI, isn't it? Nothing. And I said, I think he needs some time. I think he's depressed and he needs some time. We're worried about Ryan. We love Ryan and we're worried about him. And when you love someone, you worry about them. And he will not speak with us. It's hard to make the Canadian accent sinister, but they did manage it. And I said, look, I think the best thing you can do is just give him some space and some time and he will come back to Jehovah. And I played every beat right. Like I was saying all the right things. I was using all of the right language. And they started questioning me further. They started saying, do you know anything about this situation? I said, oh, look, all I would know would be rumors. Oh, we're a couple of elders. You can tell us anything. They said, as they looked at each other like, we've got her now. And I said, well, unfortunately, my Bible-trained conscience will not allow me to spread rumours. This is the Jehovah's Witness equivalent of pleading the fifth. They were like, God damn it, she got us. And this interrogation went on for half an hour. They'd never introduced themselves. It went on for half an hour until eventually they started saying, so what's your last congregation? You're from London. What congregation? And I said, I just panicked. I hadn't planned this. I'd only planned Ryan stuff. So I just went Pimlico, which was true. That's the real answer. And they went, who's the coordinator there? That's the chief elder. And I went, I'm not sure. I think it's somebody new. And he went, name any elder. And out of my brain, from somewhere, I pulled up Hugo Mitchell Davis, who's a very posh elder. I just managed to pull it out. I don't know where it came from. Maybe Jehovah helped me. And I said, I know he sounds like a Downton Abbey character, but no, he's real. And he went, I need his number. I said, oh, he doesn't know Ryan. He said, we need to do a background check on you. And I thought, that's it, I'm done here. And I stood up and I said, unlock the door. This is not okay. This is not, you are two men and you have a woman you don't know trapped in a room. This isn't even legal, let alone moral, let alone loving, which you claim to be. This is why Ryan doesn't want to talk to you, and this is why nobody wants to talk to you, because you are not loving. Now open the door and let me out. And they went, oh, okay. And they unlocked the door and I walked out. And as I walked out of the room and then out of the Kingdom Hall, I just felt something in me release. It was like an umbilical cord had been cut that I didn't even know was there. And I thought, how did they know I wasn't a Jehovah's Witness? I said everything right, and they knew. And I realized that while the language was right, I didn't look submissive. A sister wouldn't do that. She wouldn't give the elders advice on how to handle it. She would look at the floor, she would be tearful, and she would be listening to them. And I realized I'm not a credible Jehovah's Witness anymore because I'm not submissive anymore. I couldn't pull it off, even when I tried. And then I thought, hopefully, I've bought Ryan some time, but I don't think so because of what's just happened. So not only may Ryan be disfellowshipped, I've told them my local congregation, my last congregation, and I've given them an elder's name. And that means I now can be disfellowshipped and be cut off forever from various family and extended friends. And then I realised as I got to the car, they'd forgotten to ask my name. Thank you very much.
Deborah Francis White.
Our first guests are from an extraordinary organisation called Say It Loud. Please put your hands together and make an enormous Guilty Feminist welcome for Aloysius and Doris. Come.
Take
seats. So, Aloysius and Doris, would you just like to introduce yourself? You can either take the mic in your hand if you prefer, however you like. Great.
Hello, everyone. My name is Aloysius Sally, and I'm the coordinator of Say It Loud Club, which is an LGBT organization supporting asylum seekers and refugees here in the UK.
Hello, everyone. My name is Doris Funtong. I'm an ambassador of the Say It Loud Club, so I'm here today because I just want to raise awareness of the organization. So I want to thank you all to be part of this show tonight and just listen to what we're about to say. Thank you very much.
So, tell us a little bit about Say It Loud. Why did you start at Aloysius?
Basically, my journey as a gay man coming out was quite an extraordinary one. I come from Uganda originally, and when I was in a college in Uganda, that's where my struggles of homophobia began. Uganda is a beautiful country. Unfortunately, when it comes to gay people, it is the worst. For gay people to live there, you just live every passing day. So in college, I began a movement called the Say It Loud Club. It was a sort of an underground movement. I began with 6 students to fight the kind of injustices which were faced by the students in the college. And that was the beginning of the struggle. After about 5 or 6 years, the movement became bigger, and the more bigger it became, it was easier for the street agencies to start kind of like infiltrating the organization. And by 2003, it was discovered as a gay student movement. And it was a matter of time before I got arrested. So many of my friends, the people I formed the group with, had been arrested. So I had to leave the country because my life by then was in danger. And I came to the UK in 2003.
And were you able to come to the UK as an asylum seeker who was fleeing from a place where homosexuality was criminalised?
Basically, I was still pursuing my studies by then, by 2003. But because of the danger I was faced, I had to flee and come to the UK as a student just to stay safe. Yeah. Because if I had stayed in Uganda, the movement would have died. So when I came here, of course, I came to study. And I finished my course in 2005. And then I said, maybe I should try to go back and see if the situation is okay for me to go back and live in my country. Unfortunately, it was one of the worst decisions I've ever made, because as I was in the country, I got arrested, and I was tortured simply for being gay. And I was being asked to produce the list of all the members of Said Loud Club. And I was kept in Uganda, we call them safe houses. They are not like safe houses as we have them in this country. They are basically torture places.
God.
It was very sad, Deborah.
Can I ask what you were arrested because of? Like, what did they charge you with?
First of all, when they arrested me, they found me with leaflets, which I had got from St. Thomas Hospital here in London. And these are safe sex magazines for gay people, because in Uganda, we don't have these kind of things.
And is that illegal? It's illegal?
And that is illegal, yes. And unfortunately, because of my love to promote the rights of gay people, I carried this with me. And when I was arrested, this is the evidence.
They found the evidence.
So they accused me of spreading gay propaganda in the country.
And so you were able to escape after that and come back to the UK?
I was lucky because I spent a week in this safe house. Fortunately, I was able to bribe my way out because there was one guard. In Uganda, the bribes and the corruption, it's at its worst.
Yeah, you're kind of upstaging my Jehovah's Witness story in a really big way here, Aloysius. People were feeling for me, and now they're like, oh, really? You said, let me out, and then they just opened the door. Yeah, okay. Well, I'm glad I told mine first. Doris, what's your story? You're from Cameroon?
From Cameroon, yeah. In my country, it was really difficult for me, to be quite honest now, because I actually realized I was a lesbian. I was in secondary school, and it was quite difficult for me to come out because I was from a very religious family. So my parents, to be honest, they were really spiritual. So I was thinking of the best possible way to tell them when I loved them so much. And I was scared that probably if I tell them, they might reject me. That's the thought that any young girl would go through. So I was so worried about it because I didn't know what to do. I didn't have anybody to talk to. There wasn't any role models. It's kind of hard because nowadays, I'm like, when I see kids today, I'm like, they're really privileged because they have role models in schools today trying to educate them about, they can have their own voice. If you want to be who you want to be in life, you can actually be that kind of person, but we didn't have that opportunity. So it was hard for me then. So when I went to university, then that was when I actually knew more about what it means to be a lesbian, because I went to a boarding school. All throughout, I didn't really know. In the boarding school, we're confined in a solid, you're in a school, you can't really go out, you don't know much. Whatever they say in school, that's what you know. So when you go out during holidays, you spend time with your parents, you don't really go out, so I didn't know much. And technology back then was so bad. All this internet, we didn't really have it like what we have today. All mobile phones, we can actually have you have internet, you have access to internet, but we didn't have that seriously. So it was really hard for me. So when I went to university, I knew more about my sexuality, more of what it means to be a lesbian woman, because I didn't have a good understanding. While growing up, I didn't have that understanding. After reading through many things on the internet, I realized, so there's more to do with this. So when I went through, how can I now I'm in Cameroon, how can I deal with this? Because I really want to live openly. I really want to be who I am. I'm happy to be who I am, but I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to tell my parents. I don't know how to go about it. But when I realized that it was illegal in my country, I was like, oh my gosh, that's the most difficult part. So it's not only I have to deal with my parents, and I have to deal with the authority as well. Mm-hmm. So it was really a hard thing for me to deal with. So I decided to stay in my closet. I didn't tell anybody, because in Cameroon, if you are a lesbian or you're a gay person, they don't even need to see you in the act. They just need to suspect you, like two ladies walking on the street holding hands together, just mere suspicion, you just get arrested and you put in jail. So those are some of the conditions that it was really tough for me when I get to know about all those things in university. And, seeing other girls that I was really attracted to, it was really hard for me to approach them, because I knew, what if the authority finds out about this? What am I going to go through? What's going to happen to me? So I say, no, what? The best thing to do is for you to just stay in the closet. And it was hard for me. It's like me suppressing my own emotions as a young girl. It's a difficult thing for any young woman to go through, trying to hide your own identity, not being who you really want to be. It's like you're living a life of somebody else. That's not the kind of life you want to live. So it was tough for me until I didn't know how I was going to leave my country anyway, because I love my parents too, so I didn't know how I was going to run away. I didn't want to run away from my mom because I loved her so much. So I was so fortunate that she told me that she wanted to sponsor my studies abroad. I went okay, so where exactly do you want me to go to? She said United Kingdom, because I didn't want to go to any other country. When she said United Kingdom, I went oh, great. That was great for me, so I came abroad. That was a good opportunity, so I was excited to be abroad. But when I came, growing from a community where you've always lived in your closet, so it wasn't just easy. Even though it was a gay-friendly country, it wasn't just easy for me to just come and just integrate into their own system. It's something that takes time.
Presumably, Doris, if you've lived in a country where it's criminalized, you never feel safe.
Absolutely.
It takes a long time.
The fear is that it takes time for you to actually, let me just be like the other people that I see.
And Aloysius, you were saying that some women in various African countries, if they're even as teenage girls, they're suspected to be lesbians, they're married off to men.
Yeah, it is actually a problem in Uganda and Africa in general. Just a suspicion of a girl behaving differently from other girls, whether it's 14 or 13-year-old girl, that is just enough to get them into forced marriages. Because that kind of arrangement, to them, they believe, this is how we can heal. Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is how, it's kind of, I think, like gay conversion therapy, stuff like that in this country.
So Say It Loud helps refugees and asylum seekers through the process, because often the British government won't acknowledge that people are gay. They say, you don't look gay, you don't have short hair, you're not a lesbian. You were saying that kind of thing is said all the time.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. A lot of people, I've met many people who say that, she doesn't look like a lesbian. I don't know how you can attribute someone's sexuality to her looks. To be honest with you, sexuality is something else. I don't think that is a good thing to say. Because
the government.
It's not a great thing to say.
Choose to be you choose the masculine part of it. You don't expect me. So my culture, like I said, where I came from, I can't have tattoo on my body. Like mere suspicion. If you have tattoo, they know you are a lesbian. If you have short hair, they know you are a lesbian. If they see two guys, because there were two guys that got arrested because they were drinking Baileys. Just drinking Baileys.
Drinking Baileys?
Baileys is a drink that women drink.
Oh,
they say since they were drinking Baileys, they're gay.
What, they were having like a white wine spritzer?
Absolutely. So it's like...
half this country would be arrested in no time.
So Say It Loud helps refugees and asylum seekers go through the process. It helps them come out in a way that is very emotionally difficult at times because of their backgrounds. And it also helps people speak English and assimilate in other ways and join the LGBTQ plus community. Yeah, basically the story of Say It Loud, of course, it begins with me when I went through the asylum process in this country. Because when I come back from Uganda in 2005, by that time, of course, my visa was running out. And I was very confused. Now, what do I do? I'm a gay man. I'm a man of color. What do I do? I can't go back to Uganda. And at the same time, I'm living in the country. So within a few months, I was actually illegal. I used to be an active student. I used to be an activist in my college. Now here I am in the streets of London, moving around. I have nowhere to go, sleeping in roughs, just living with friends. It took me 5 years, Deborah, to seek help. By that time, I was going through mental illnesses. And people don't believe, when someone talks about mental illness, people have no idea when you have ever gone through that. Yes. And you are a nurse now?
Yes, I'm a nurse now.
But you also run Say It Loud?
Yes.
So you're two of our favourite things, because we love nurses. And you've started Say It Loud. Say It Loud needs support from our audience here today and our listeners who are listening at home. What is it that you would like from us?
The main thing is to raise awareness that asylum seekers can also be gay, can also be lesbian, can also be LGBT+. Because at the moment, the need is there, the demand is there. And the Say Loud Club is playing a vital role in this, in our communities.
When you say raise awareness, do you want us to hashtag for you? Do you want us to share things from your site? What exactly? These people need specific instructions,
to
Aloysius.
hashtag, of course.
They want to help, but they need instructions.
To raise funds, of course. At the moment, the Say It Loud Club is a voluntary organization. I have to
you
use...
need money.
We need money.
We can help
And
with
is there
that.
somewhere on, do you have a website that people can go to where they can donate to Say It Loud?
We do have a website,
Yes.
which is www.sayitloudclub.co.uk.
Say It Loud Club, club.co.uk, and you can donate there. And there's also other instructions of how you can get involved. I asked Aloysius what he needs to, because he would like to be full-time for Say It Loud. It's all run on volunteers at the moment, and Aloysius is also a nurse, so you can imagine the hours he's working. If he had £35,000 a year, he could go full-time, he could train volunteers, he could have all the admin, transport for volunteers. You know, it just costs a lot of money to keep something like that going. So basically, is there a very rich gay person listening? I'm talking to you, Elton John. £35,000 is down the back of your sofa, and you know it is. Seriously, is there anybody who is from the LGBTQ plus community or an ally who would be able to donate like $5,000 or $10,000, or a corporation that would like to help and sponsor? Or does any of our listeners have £1, £5, or £10? Some people are laughing as, yes, that's more accessible to me. But either of those, we'd be looking for to raise £35,000, and that means that Aloysius can do this full time. How many gay and trans people are you servicing each month?
All right. Clean it up, guilty feminist.
God. That's how Aloysius said it to me backstage. So
In
I'm
this
gonna
coun-
say,
in this country,
can I ask
I
that
can
question
answer
again
that
for the
properly.
edit? Because we cannot put that out.
You absolutely can. How many people does your organisation facilitate at the moment?
Well done, Felicity Ward.
I think on average, I see about over 200 people every month.
Wow.
Yes.
That's amazing. Great. Okay.
So Say It Loud needs support. So we go to sayitloudclub.co.uk.
Sayitloudclub.co.uk. They need volunteers. They need money. They need you to hashtag the fuck out of things. Are we on board for that, Guilty Feminists? Sayitloudclub.co.uk. A big round of applause for Doris and Aloysius. You've heard her on the podcast recently. You have demanded more. You absolutely adore her. It's the amazing Grace Petrie.
So I just wanted to say really briefly, I was invited back to come on this podcast, which I was very grateful to be invited back. And I was like, I do have other songs, but because this is the song that I played on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. But then some of you guys, I'm sure probably all of us here are aware that last weekend at London Pride, there was a very heartbreaking, for me anyway, interruption and attempted sort of sabotage of the march at London Pride. There was a tiny, tiny, tiny minority group of transphobic protesters who decided that they were going to try and sort of hijack the London Pride march for their own ends, right? And nothing makes me more fucking furious than when that gets reported as a lesbian protest. I want to say very clearly that those women do not speak for me, and they really do not speak for the vast majority of lesbians. So in response to that attempted sabotage, those transphobes were using the hashtag #GetTheL_Out, meaning like they want to go off and separate away from the queer community. And in response to that, the next day, there was an amazing hashtag that was going around, which was L_with_the_T. And honestly, that is really what I believe. I feel like my trans sisters, my trans siblings, we experience for the most part a massive amount of the same oppression. It is our struggle, it's our one community. And I'm very, very happy to be on this wonderfully inclusive podcast here today. So I wrote a song about that and about being a butch lesbian and basically ticking all of the boxes that Doris was listing off there about the ways that people look for lesbians. I was like, yeah, it's like short hair, tattoos. I was in the wings like, oh,
If you ever need to apply for asylum, you're going to be fine.
Oh, yeah, you know what? I'll bring you with me as my... you can just demand that they open the doors. That's what I hear that you're good at that. This is called Black Tie, and it goes like this. Well, it's a jungle out there. The year 2018, I didn't think we'd still be sorting babies into blue and pink and all our progress. Yet I wonder what it means that the only girls' clothes that work for me turn out to be boyfriend jeans. Well, that's fine, 'cause I decline a narrow set of rules that just don't work. 'Cause these red lines, well, they're not mine. And if you need me, you can find me ironing my shirt, 'cause I'm in black tie tonight. Get a postcard to my year 11 self in a year 11 hell, saying everything's gonna be alright. No, you won't grow out of it. You will find the clothes that fit and the images that fucked you. We're a patriarchal structure, and you never will surrender to a narrow view of gender. And I swear there'll come a day when you won't worry what they say on the labels, on the doors. You will figure out what's yours. And it's a bloody nightmare, trying to fight the spread of bigotry and fear. That's uniting Piers Morgan and Jermaine Greer and all our progress. Yeah, I wonder who it's for. When I dared to the trans lives matter, yeah, and all I got was the turf war. Well, that's fine, 'cause I decline your narrow set of rules, they just don't work. These red lines, they're not mine. And if you need me, you can find me ironing my shirt. Oh, I'm in black tie tonight. Get a postcard to my year 11 self in a year 11 hell, saying everything's gonna be alright. No, you won't grow out of it. You will find the clothes that fit and the images that fucked you. We're a patriarchal structure, and you never will surrender to a narrow view of gender. And I swear there'll come a day when you won't worry what they say on the labels, on the doors. You will figure out what's yours. You will figure out what's yours, and that it's got nothing to do with fitting neatly in a box that was constructed to make it seem like people come in just two teams, and anything that's in between ain't good enough. And you will love, and you'll be loved, and you're in black tie tonight. Get a postcard to my year 11 self in a year 11 hell. Darling, everything's gonna be alright. No, you won't grow out of it. You will find the clothes that fit and the images that fucked you. We're a patriarchal structure. No, you never will surrender to that narrow view of gender. And there's folks you've yet to meet, but you're exactly up their street, and they've been waiting just as long to hear someone sing this song. Better days are on their way when it won't matter what they say on the labels and on the doors. You will figure out what's yours. And girl, you're gonna be so happy. Girl, you're gonna be just fine. Girl, you're gonna be so happy. Down the line, down the line.
Are you ready for some stand-up comedy? Then please welcome to the stage the wonderful Felicity Ward!
Hello. Now, something very exciting that happened only a couple of hours ago, and our wonderful French football supporters will know. During the game, the members of Pussy Riot, which are a Russian punk band, they crashed the field. They ran on the field as a political statement, which is wonderful, and it reminds me about two things in particular. One of them is I love being a woman. I love being a woman for lots of reasons. Number one, boobs. Actually, it's mostly boobs, if I'm honest. They're everything. They're a pillow, they're a catchment area, they make a honking noise when you grab at them. What's not to love? And I know that not everyone has boobs, and I understand that. I didn't get them till very late in the game. Like, I'm surprised they haven't made a Lifetime midday movie about how late I got my boobs. So I am very, very grateful to have them. There's only one point where I have a criticism of boobs, and it's when I used to watch the cricket. And I know a lot of you are sitting there going, "With this podcast exists so we don't have to talk about the cricket." But don't worry, chill out. It's about to get funny. So, back when I was a child in the medieval ages of the 1980s, people used to do streaks all the time. There were streakers all the time in the 80s. What would happen is people would just get so excited, they're like, I know what this needs, a nude body running across the field. I'm going to run towards that man that has a cricket bat that could be an assault weapon. That'll be funny. And if the thing was, it wasn't just men back in the 80s, it was also women. So women would also just get nude and run across the field. I'm assuming more with the men that they would see it and they go, well, there's one ball on the field and they seem to be having a good time. Maybe they need two more. But what would happen is there'd be a slightly different reaction to when there was a male streaker to a female streaker. I mean, female cis-bodied person and male cis-bodied person, because it was the 80s and it was a very different time. So what would happen is a man would run across the field, right? He'd be completely nude. He'd have his leisurely, flaccid penis flapping in the wind, and he'd run across the field and he'd go, well, hey, it's my dick! And everyone in the crowd would go, well, hey, it is indeed your dick. And that was the end of it, yeah? Now, when a woman would run across the field, she'd go, well, hey, it's my boobs. And everyone mostly would go, well, hey, it is indeed your boobs. But then there was a portion of the crowd, a lot of the male go, oh, they're boobs. They're free boobs. They're like the boobs that I see in my secret videos that I can't show to my wife. Oh, boobs. Oh, boobs. Oh, God. Oh, boobs. I didn't see that. I might be projecting, but it was... There was a tension there, and I know the reason why is because boobs only have one setting, yeah? Boobs always look the same. If boobs are being sexy, this is how they look. If boobs are just going for a walk, this is how they look. If they're going to the club, if they're feeding, if they're sleeping, this is how they look, except they're tucked underneath my armpits. Whereas the wang has two very different settings, doesn't it? Very different settings. It has the business setting, and that's straight up and down. There's no funny business when it's business setting, because it's business time, yeah? So there's business, and then there's leisure. I don't think it splays out like that. It's old Five Dick McGinty. No, it's the worst magic trick I've ever seen. Anyway, what I mean is there's no laughing at a boner, and that's why you never see a man with a boner doing a streak. Because a boner means business. A boner carries a briefcase, yeah? A boner does mergers and acquisitions, yeah? It does overtime so it can get the job done. That's what you don't laugh at a man with a boner. And I mean, of course, there are exceptions. Like one of my ex-partners had a boner and he took a shirt on a coat hanger and he hung it on it. It was hilarious. I took a photo. But the point is, that relationship didn't last, and I think it's because we messed with the natural intention of the wood, yeah? And so I asked myself the question that so many feminists have asked themselves before: how can we provide a safe space for women to just get out their baps without fear of sexual objectification? I know that's all on your minds now. So I stumbled across a solution, right? As all great scientists do. So firstly, what you'll need is a friend. So I'm sorry if that's ruled anyone out already. I I did it to a flatmate, so it wasn't so much a friend as a captive audience that owed me rent money. So what you do is, my situation was, I waited, they were in the kitchen, and I went in there and I started nagging them about a chore that they hadn't done, right? Initially, they thought I was joking and they were like laughing around, but I stood my ground, I stayed firm, and I got them a little bit angry. And then when they started to get upset, I said, you know what, don't even worry about it. And then I stormed out of the room. I gave it a moment, then I re-entered the room and said something very inflammatory. I said, you know what, I just think it's a little bit sexist. And they heard the word, they turned around, and to look at me, they were just faced with a very, very angry expression and just a single boob hanging out. Just like a deflated beach ball, yeah? Like a water pouch. Like a doll's eyeball swinging in the wind. And I looked at her and I went, well, hey, it's my boob. And she went, well, hey, it's your boob. So that is the solution now. If you do want to get your boobs out in public, but you don't want to be sexually objectified, that is my message to you. Having said that, the 80s were a very different time, and this will probably constitute as sexual harassment or assault. So maybe just do it with a friend that you know, yeah? So that is me taking a stand and planting a flag.
Hello, Guilty Feminists. This is Deborah. We're recording more live episodes and you can come and see us. We are live in Chichester on the 21st of August, where we'll be talking to the cast of my new play, Never Have I Ever. You can also see my new play, Never Have I Ever, if you can get to Chichester in September. It's starring Susan Wokoma, Greg Wise, Alexandra Roach and Amit Shah, and is being directed by the incredible Emma Butler. And we're recording episodes of The Guilty Feminist and Global Pillage at the London Podcast Festival on Saturday the 16th and Sunday the 17th of September. For tickets to any of these, go to guiltyfeminist.com and click on live shows. Except if you want to go to the play, and then I want you to go to cft.org.uk. You can also get ad-free episodes via Patreon, Apple Podcasts or Acast Plus. And if you're passing iTunes or Spotify and you felt like leaving us a 5-star review, we'd love you forever. It really does help people find the podcast, as does subscribing or following. And now, back to the podcast.
You don't own me. I'm not just one of your many toys. You don't own me. Don't say I can't go with other boys. Don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me what to say. Please, when I go out with you, don't put me on display. You don't own me. You don't own me. Don't tell me what to do, and don't tell me what to say. And please, when I go out with you, don't put me on display. Don't tell me what to do, and don't tell me what to say. But please, when I go out with you, don't put me on display. Nobody, 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 nobody can hold us. Dum 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 dum. Dum 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 dum. So, what am I not supposed to have an opinion? Should I be quiet just because I'm a dumb man? Call me a bitch because I speak what's on my mind. Said it's easier for you to swallow if I sat and smiled. When a female fires back, suddenly because I don't know how to act. So he does what any little boy would do, making up a few false rumors. That for sure is not a man to me. Slandering names for popularity. It said you only get your fame through controversy. But now it's time for me to come and give you more to say. down.
The Oxford Bells, everybody!
Such a natural. Where does this go? Just checking a message, babe. You got a
You
tweet come
literally
through.
Instagram stories. No, I'm pulling up my proper introduction. Now,
Your own introduction. Your name is Deborah Frances White. I know it's been a long weekend and it's 3 names, but come on, you can do it.
listen, heckles from the audience are one thing, but when it comes from behind you, it's very disappointing, like so many
Show us
things.
your tits.
Now, did you just say show us your tits?
Yeah, I did.
They are beautiful and I am not ashamed. Also, I've been at Latitude, where people just get their tits out. I've forgotten I'm back in London. Okay. All right. Speaking of local Camden drag bars...
Here comes Tom Selinsky.
Thank you so much. Oh, wow.
Oh, thank you.
Tom's just ordered us drinks. I am married to Tom Selinsky, and I recommend it because I just need to tell you this. I found it so moving. He came up to me in the interval and he went, Aloysius broke my heart. And I went up to him and said, you're my hero. I know. And he's less like a straight white cis guy. You just aren't that many good ones.
My husband and I watched the World Cup game on Wednesday and he was like, do you want to do a face mask? I'm like, I fucking love you. We sat there in the penalty shootout in the extra time with face mask. I'd never done one before.
Okay.
He had.
Tom, this has been a delight, but you are over. Because Tom would never do a face mask with me. I want to be upgraded to your husband, Chris.
Well, you cannot. He is a one lady at a time kind of situation.
Well, at
I'm
a time
making that
being
decision for him.
At a time of being the operative phrase, Flick. All right, it's not Love Island. It's a joke.
Hey, do you know what? I'm a feminist, but this is literally the first time I have ever worn a dress without a bra. It's got a little panel in it, right? So I was a little bit nervous before I came out. Some cheering up there. I see you. And I said to Chris before, I said, can I get away with this? And he said, well, I don't know, on the side I can see quite far down. And I was like, oh, I don't care about that. Do my tits look saggy?
No.
That was nipple, absolutely fine, as long as I'm perky.
Well, do you know what? I'm a feminist, but when I just pulled up my top to show the audience my breasts on request, which, by the way, some men who were dragged to this show and thought feminism have really got more than they thought they were going to get there, and they feel money's worth cha-ching, cha-ching. And
she's named them.
The left one is cha and the right one is ching.
ask.
Yep. Cha, ching, cha, ching. Yeah. Stage left. I'm a feminist, but when I pulled up my top, I thought in my head, hell, what bra am I wearing? Because, you can't remember. And I sat down and I was still trying to think about...
It's the blue one.
Yes, I was so happy when I realised.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty. It's got flowers on.
Yeah, because I was going to jump up and join you. I'm like, not tonight.
No,
not tonight.
not tonight.
That is more than value for money if you've got a free pair of baps in your eyes.
Our next guests are not Baps. Our next guests are Alex Green from Loudon... For the edit. This is the great thing about a podcast. Wait till the plane goes over. This is the great thing about a podcast. You could take everything again. Let's wait till the plane goes. If you could
Can I take my year 12 exams again? I'm kidding. I crushed it. Just a little joke, pretending I'm not absolutely set on perfection in every aspect of my life. Anxiety is not your friend, but it helps to push you further in life.
It's so true. It is a motivator.
Quick story, it'll be so quick. When I was 10, I got a C for my handwriting, and I went, oh, well, I can never get a C again. So now people compliment me all the time. They're like, you've got the handwriting of a serial killer. I'm like, that's because I got a C when I was 10.
That is exactly what a serial killer would say.
Yeah. What I'm saying is sleep with one eye open, Deborah.
Listen, now I've accidentally made a joke about stealing your husband, which you can't steal a person, just to be clear.
Just their love.
You've been watching Love Island, haven't you?
No, I've never seen an episode. I'm not better than it. I'm afraid I'll be addicted to it.
Sorry. Sorry, the patriarchy is shouting from the wings. Ow.
I've never heard Tom say anything. Usually he comes on and goes, girls, if we could you that was aggressive. We should move on.
No, that was... He did say don't faff around. Okay.
That was not a microaggression, Tom. That was actually just an aggression.
It was a macroaggression.
We're doing another 10 minutes, actually.
No. We have to be out of the theatre, and they need to go
Otherwise, we're
home.
sleeping with the pigeons.
Sorry? What did someone just shout?
Fine us.
Fine us. Yeah, no, but they want to go home. This is their day off. Okay, ready.
They're not on overtime. Anyway, let's not get into workers' wages. I've got some thoughts.
Shh, because I need to say this clean. Our next guests are Alex Green from Loud and Queerly and Amy Roberts from Friends of the Joiners Arms. Please put your hands together and make enormous woohooing noises for Alex and Amy.
Hello.
Okay. Listen, we hardly ever have a man on The Guilty Feminist, and tonight we've had two and little testes. So tell us, could you briefly introduce yourself? If you're listening at home, Alex has just put a prop on the table. He's put on a very beautifully decorated top hat and a paper wig. That's the only way I can describe it. So, Alex, could you just introduce yourself for the listeners?
Hi, I'm Alex Green, and I'm here today, actually, to talk about the Black Cap, which is a really famous, iconic queer venue in Camden Town. I don't know if any of you know it. And 3 years ago, it was closed suddenly by a greedy property developer, not because it was not successful or a popular venue, just simply because they wanted to turn it into luxury flats.
Yes.
We'll come back to that. We're here to talk about that, really, about planting the flag. And we've been there 3 years. I'm only 25. Look at me, I'm aged. And I'm a nice thing and do stand-up, and so I kind of bring my entertainment stuff outside the pub. And what we do is we're out there every week doing our vigils. We can't call them protests because we'll get into trouble, but vigil protests. So we're out there and we wear lots of hats like this. And then every couple of months we'll do a really big show out there, because ultimately if they won't let us in, we're going to do it outside. So that's what we do, and we've kept the place alive. We fought off 3 developers. It's
there. It's just sitting there, though. That's the terrifying thing. Like, I've been in Camden for years, and the Black Cap was just this icon of Camden. It was it wasn't just a gay space, it was a queer space. It was flamboyant, it had drag acts, it was like this fabulous, really sort of beacon of queer in the middle of Camden High Street, and it got shut down so they could turn it into luxury flats. I often say to Tom, one day we will get a letter from the council saying, as residents of Camden, you two are being turned into luxury flats.
Yes, exactly.
I fully expect one day I will have to be a luxury flat.
Yeah.
And that's it's extraordinary what's happening, and it's really deadly. Kate Harford, who we'll be hearing from later, said, they wanted to turn the Black Cap into, their plan was luxury flats upstairs and a straight bar in the bottom.
Ugh.
And I said...
Yucky.
Yeah. Although a straight bar on the bottom doesn't sound as straight as all that.
I could live with that. I could a straight pat on the bottom. That might be better.
Amy, tell us about you.
Hello, I'm Amy Roberts, and I'm here from the Friends of the Joiners Arms, which is a campaign to save the Joiners Arms in East London. I'm not sure if anyone here knows that. Some others may have been, but just can never remember it. But it's
I went to a place and I came out of a place, but the name has
It was the Joiners.
It was a long night.
It was the Joiners. It was definitely the Joiners.
So similarly to the Black Cap, it was closed 3.5 years ago when, surprise, surprise, a developer bought the pub. It was a late licensed queer venue. Bought the pub from the brewery and very quickly told the landlord, who was the legendary David Pollard, who sadly passed away earlier this year, they wouldn't be renewing his license. So at the beginning of 2015, it closed its doors and they remain closed. But their original plan was, again, surprise, surprise, they wanted to turn it into a block of luxury
flats?
Yeah,
Was it?
exactly. Luxury flats, which are basically money boxes in the sky masquerading as homes. I mean, but we've had a very successful campaign, and back in October last year, we successfully pretty much squashed the original plans. They now have to do like a mixed-use development. They were then forced into including a pub in that development. But we went one further, and for the first time in history, as part of a planning protection, it now has to be, for the next 25 years, has to be operated as an LGBTQ.
Wow! Come on!
Which is fantastic.
That's amazing.
We are, like, as allies, we've been involved with your community for a very long time, but I'm sure there'll be listeners that might not have been involved in the LGBTQI community. What do these kind of places mean to your community? Because also it's a different time now, but what did it mean 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when there was a very different politics?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think, one of the things that I always say about the Black Cap, and if you've never been, it was a shame, and hopefully you will again, is that it was a place that our community could meet our allies on our own terms. And we get this argument quite a lot that, well, now, we're all equal and we can go into any pub and it would be illegal to throw you out if you were, looked like a lesbian, whatever. And we said, well, actually, that doesn't mean that it's safe for us always, and it's not safe for everybody. And I don't know about you, but, it's for me to be able to, and for a lot of us, to be able to walk into a pub that we know is safe for us, to take that baggage off, sit a bit closer with your boyfriend, not be worried about your trans friends or whatever. Those spaces are really important. And, equality is not about being the same. It's about being treated the same. And I think that we forget that. And, so we do need those spaces. And I think 30 years ago when I came out, 30 years. And I came from Leeds, and I
came out as a 3-year-old.
I came out as a 3-year-old, and I looked fabulously young. But I came here in the 80s. I was signed a record deal. I came here in my band. I was all excited, but I knew I was queer when who didn't. But I was in Leeds, and it was quite it's a dark place. It wasn't easy to be out then. Mind you, it was new romantic time, so you can imagine. Last time I had hair, it was gothic being was fashionable. So I've never had a decent hairdo ever since, hence the hats, obviously. But coming to London, and when I first found the Black Cap and walked in there, and it was a grotty, kind of run-down sort of place, but it was also a magical space because for the first time it felt like somewhere that I was with my queer family. And in fact, for the last, many people say this when you're outside the pub, and not just gay people, our allies will say, this is a place in our community where we could come with friends, we could come with family, we could, all be together. You had weddings there, funerals there. Sadly, we also had New Year's Eve. It became this place like you do in your own towns. You have your family do place, and we also get criticised for this for both of our campaigns. Is the idea of there are new queer places, but the fact is we shouldn't throw away ones that have intrinsic history that belongs to us, because that's really important that we just don't throw those away. We're not trying to reopen the Black Cap to make it some sort of museum. We don't want that. We want it to be as young and vibrant and as sleazy as it always was.
Do you think it would need to be updated? Have there things that have happened in the queer community that you would want to embrace?
Yeah, absolutely. You said it yourself, Deborah, actually, that the one thing that I always loved about the Cap is that it was always a queer venue, in the sense that we understand queer now as, our whole LGBTQI. There was everybody there, and everybody felt they had a place there. So you would see trans people at the a bunch of lesbians at the back. There was, and it wasn't all tops off, white gay, cis gay men sort of, jumping around to house music. Some of that, obviously.
Sure,
but it was a place that you could, that everybody
that was
could feel
my stomping
comfortable.
ground, to be fair.
Yeah, but mine too, yeah, I have to say.
But it needs to be inclusive
Yes,
of everybody
it
in the
does,
queer
it does,
community
yeah.
and allies if they're with someone queer. You don't just want necessary hen nights crashing.
No,
But-
and I think towards the end we did that kind of was beginning to happen. And in the last 18 months or so, because this guy owned the pub for about 6 years, and he tried to run it down into the ground, and then a whole bunch, you mentioned her upstairs earlier, so Meth Lab and the Family Fierce, they sort of took over the promotion for the last 18 months and really brought it back to life. And then, of course, on the night they actually announced it closing because he lost the battle to get the protection, the asset of community value removed, and the chance to turn it into flats. Literally, that happened Friday. By Sunday, he closed it down. And there were 500 people in that back room dancing to drag queens on the night of a pub that, essentially is being closed because it's not profitable, which is just ludicrous.
Clearly not. What can we do for your campaigns? What is it that our listeners, our audience here tonight and our listeners at home can do to help, to ally?
Well, I guess for us, we've now secured the protection of the joiners in planning terms, but we, like you said, in terms of evolving spaces, we want to go further and actually turn into a community-run space. So I would urge anyone who feels that space is done and haven't catered for them in particular to get involved and to get in touch with our campaign.
And how can they do that?
So you can do that on Facebook, so find the Friends of the Joiners Arms, and you can also contact us by email on thejoinersliveson@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you, and we would love to hear your stories, and if you want to get involved, then come and make it as good as it can be.
And are you looking for volunteers to join your campaign?
Definitely,
Do you
yeah.
need funds? I've got a $5 in my bag, don't want to brag.
I'll take it. Yeah, we need both. We're not fundraising precisely at the moment. We want volunteers, I guess, because we want to build on the vision that we've got to make it.
And do you want LGBTQ plus volunteers or do you want allies as well?
Obviously, allies are welcome, but this is going to be an this is an LGBTQ-led
space
and run space.
Okay.
Allies, of course, please come and be involved.
Wish the Joiners Arms well.
No, of course. No, come and be involved. But this is good. There's, myself included, some of us within the LGBTQ plus community have more privileges than others. And for me, it's about platforming those people who haven't got those privileges. And Aidan Bevan once said, the purpose of gaining power is to give it away. And I think that's a brilliant mantra for our community.
You can get in touch with us through the @WeAreTheBlackCap, which is in the Facebook, which on the Facebook, you know what I'm saying. I'm too old to know what the terms are. And that's really the main thing. If you go on there, Twitter and Instagram as well, it's the same hashtag, @WeAreTheBlackCap. And there's lots of things you can do with us. We do the vigils, come down, see the shows. Once you join the group, you'll see all the activities we do. And we do club nights, we do different nights, both of our groups.
And you're looking, because the Black Cap is not yet back in LGBTQ plus hands, is it?
So it's a different story for us. We're saving a building as well as trying desperately hard now to put ourselves in a position where we can build a consortium of businesses and individuals who want to, again, do exactly the same thing. To buy back the Black Cap. Now, the owner is unlikely to sell towards it.
But you need investors to take the Black Cap over.
What we'd really like, if there's anyone out there, anyone listening, who really wants to get involved in looking at how we can buy the pub back, if you've got skills around legal skills, financial skills, looking at how we can raise investment to put the best case we can and try convince this very lovely owner to sell it back to our community.
Great.
And that's how things change too, is grassroots movements. It's little movements around the country, because often when we see massive campaigns, we think, oh, I don't know how I'm going to affect that, or I'll give some money and then that's all we can do. But these little campaigns, that's how we as people can form little groups with our community and remember to connect with each other, that we're actually people that build this city, that we're not just all faceless people going to jobs, like we're all human beings that can connect and can create things that are great and create change.
And I think, building on that as well.
We agree.
I think it's really important as well that these grassroots campaigns around queer venues have sprung up, because it shows that we're not just going to sit back and let things change. If we love things, there are people willing to fight for it, and we demand a right and a say of what the city is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Rubes Walsh, who's been on this podcast a number of times, told me that she used to go to the MCC church. which is a Christian genderqueer congregation, at that time with the Reverend Kate Harford, who's now in Oxford. And it was she said it was like church after church. So we have Kate Harford here tonight. And Kate is she's a reverend, and she's going to do a litany with us, which is going to be followed by the Black Caps traditional hymn.
Yes.
So Kate Harford, the Reverend Kate Harford.
I always go back to my evangelical roots when I'm giving a microphone and I want to say something like, give us a cheer for Jesus. Not one, thank you. Okay. So I get that the church liturgy is not all of your homes, so I'll just tell you what a litany is and what I need from you. So litany is a traditional prayer that we say in a church, or, the original Greek for church is just assembly. So it's a thing that the assembly says together. And it's kind of like a traditional call and response. So I will say something about what's important about queer spaces in the past and what we hope for our queer spaces in the future. And all I need from you when I finish speaking, and Deb will probably cue you a little, is we need our space, which is really easy, and it's really easy to remember, and you can even practice it. So it's we need our space. We need our space. Awesome. So I wrote this for the Black Cap, but it's, I guess, applicable to any of the many wonderful venues that have been closing across our cities. For the young person unsure about coming out, we need our space. We need our space. For the bisexual woman on her first date with a woman, we need our space. We need our space. For the newly married Muslim couple who needs somewhere to dance, we need our space. We need our space. For the widow who needs a community to care for her, we need our space. We need our space. For the trans man exploring his femininity, coming out in a drag queen persona, we need our space. We need our space. For the asylum-seeking couple who have never been safe to kiss outside of a locked room, we need our space. We need our space. And for everyone who's ever loved the queer community and what we stand for, we need our space. We need our space. So in memory of Regina Fong and her sisters and siblings, and in the name of all that is queer and holy, we need our space. We need our space. Amen.
Amen. And now the traditional Black Cap hymn, which you will all join in, including the Oxford Bells.
Hello, everyone. Right. You got your Regina wigs? Lift your Reginas up. Come on. Now I want you to take those home with you. Do a selfie, put it on the Facebook, I'm here again. Put it on the Facebook campaign page. I'll finish that sentence. Okay. Regina Fong was a legendary drag act at the Black Cap from right through the 70s, 80s and 90s. And she used to literally fill the Cap and many other places. Hundreds of people, didn't she? She was absolutely amazing. And she had hundreds of catchphrases and songs and things, and everybody would know every word of them. So, and one of them was a really famous song called A Windmill in Old Amsterdam. We in the Cap would call it The Mouse. I want to welcome on the protesters. Come on, these are our Black Captivists. Supported by Say It Loud. Say It Loud, we love these guys. And the Oxford Bells are going to join us in our lovely Black Cap anthem. So you be prepared. I want the clog dancing good and hard. Practice now, please. Clog dancing. Oh my God, I've done already. Are we ready? Shall we go? A mouse lived in a windmill in old Amsterdam. A windmill with a mouse in, he's hardly a grousing. He sang every morning, how lucky I am, living in a windmill in old Amsterdam. I saw a mouse, well, there on the stair, where on the stair, right there. Ready? Little mouse with clogs on. Well, I declare, going clip, clippity, clop on the stair. Oh, yeah. Well,
Well, the mouse, he got lonely and took him a wife. A windmill with mice in is hardly surprising. She sang every morning, how lucky I am, living in a windmill in old Amsterdam. I saw a mouse, we're there on the stair. We're on the stair. Right there, come on! A little mouse with clogs on. Well, I declare, go and flip, flippity clop on the stair. Oh, yeah. Key change. Triplets, and then she had twins. A windmill with twins in, and triplets and quins in. She sang every morning, how lucky I am. Living in a windmill in Amsterdam, yeah. I saw a mouse, well, there on the stair. We're on the stair, right there. A little mouse with clogs on. Well, I declare, go and clip, clippity clop on the stair. That's right. Oh, yeah. First daughters got married, and so did the sons. Windmill had, what did they do? Like christenings, when no one was listening. They sang every morning, living in a windmill, old Amsterdam. I saw a mouse, where? There on the stair. We're on the stair, right there. A little mouse with clogs on. Well, I declare, go clip, clippity clop on the stair. Oh, yeah. A mouse lived in a windmill, so snug and so nice. There's nothing there now but a whole lot of mice. Save the Black Cup, save the Johnny's Arms, save queer spaces.
To join the Oxford Bells in I Will Survive, we have somebody very special, somebody associated with the Black Cap. Now, normally this person is known as Ebony Rose, but tonight she is going to appear for you with the Oxford Bells as Luxury Flaps. Big applause for Take it away. Luxury Flaps, thank you so much for joining us.
At first I was afraid, I was petrified, kept thinking I could never live without you by my side. But then I spent so many nights thinking how you did me wrong, and I grew strong, and I learned how to get along.
And so you're back from outer space. I just walked in, found you here. That sounded like a face. I should have changed, but stupid love would have made you leave. Okay, if I had known for just 1 second you'd be back to bother me. Oh, now go, out the door. Just turn around now. You're now welcome anymore. Weren't you the one who tried to hurt me with goodbye? Did you think I'd crumble? Did you think I'd lay down and die? Oh, no, not I will survive. Oh, as long as I know how to love, I know I'll stay alive. I've got all my life to live, and I've got all my love to give, and I'll survive. I will survive.
It took all the strength I had not to fall apart. Kept trying hard to mend the pieces of my broken heart. And I spent so many nights just crying to myself I used to cry. But now I hold my head up high and you see me, somebody new. little boys are still in love with you. I know you felt like dropping in and just expect me to be free. Now I'm saving all my loving for someone who's gonna be.
Thank you, it was a pleasure, thank you very much.
Where can we see you perform?
You can catch me at the Royal Vauxhall Tavern at my place of residency on Tuesday nights, bar whatever. Royal Vauxhall Tavern, come down. It's an LGBT plus Q night that supports LGBT people and performance and cabaret performance. Yes, so come down.
Ebony Rose Darkers, Luxury Flops, the Oxford Bells, our wonderful guests from Say It Loud, Friends of the Joiners Arms, Loud and Queerly, the Reverend Kate Harford, Little Testes, Grace Petrie, and my amazing co-pilot for this evening, it's Felicity Ward. Thank you so much to everyone at Regent's Park Open Air Theatre. We're sorry we've run over, but we love you so much and we'd love to come back here. Thanks to so much to all of our wonderful Guilty Feminist audiences. Thank you for leaving the house. Thank you for listening at home. We've been the Guilty Feminist. That's our show. Good night.
You have been listening to The Guilty Feminist with me, Deborah Frances-White, guest co-host Felicity Ward, and our very special guests, Kate Harford, Alex Green, Amy Roberts, Aloysius Sali, and Doris Funtong Kimbong, with music from Grace Petrie and the Oxford Bells, and a performance from Ebony Rose Dark. The recording engineer was Chris Sharp. The Guilty Feminist theme tune was by Mark Hodge. The producer was Tom Zielinski for The Spontaneity Shop. Thanks to Tony and Hannah at PBJ Live and Kath and Andy at the Regent's Park Theatre, as well as all of you for listening. For more information about this and other episodes, visit guiltyfeminist.com.
It's a big show tonight, so I got one of your favourites.
No, you didn't. Unfortunately, she couldn't make it, so we've got Felicity Ward instead.
I know who the favourites are because people come up to me in the street and say...
Let's name all of them now.
No.
I want names.
No, everyone's a favourite in their own way, but you're a favourite.
Yeah!
This will...
I mean, I would love to say that I don't care, but that's going to get me to sleep tonight.
The Guilty Feminist is provided exclusively from Acast. Find it wherever you get your podcasts.